Hey guys, this I guess I'm gonna say this video is probably gonna be for it can be for like multiple people. Anybody interested in the Axe effects can obviously watch it and maybe get something out of it. It's one I've been kind of wanting to do for a while, but it's also kind of I wanted to do this for any guys who are like who use tube amps and and they think modelers aren't any good, or if you're a guy who uses tube amps and you're using like attenuators and stuff like that, and you're just in your like bedroom or whatever in your house and you can't play real loud and stuff like that. And this video's for you too. So basically what it is in a nutshell, let me go back in history. I'm a absolute die-hard, you see back here's a Marshall or some over there. I'm a die-hard Marshall guy. I have been for decades. I love the Marshall tones, the Marshall-esque sound, whether it's the Plexi type up to the more higher gain stuff. For decades, when I was playing in bands and stuff, I used a which I got over there. You can't see it, but it's a Marshall JMP1 preamp, and it's not that it was absolutely the absolute best sounding thing you could ever get when it comes to Marshall, but it was versatile. So I always used it, and it got me really close to the different Marshall type tones I like. So anyhow, so I'm coming from that ballpark, and I'd be a guy probably several years ago that would have told you, hey, this modeling stuff sucks. I mean, quite frankly, man, I remember the pod little bean things. I had one of those years ago. Up until more recent time, I had a couple other things kind of like that. I think I had a Behringer one, something by Digitech, I think, once or twice, and amp sims, the same stuff like on a computer, and nothing really satisfied me. I mean, some of the tones, I guess you'd say, were okay, but it's like when you're a Marshall guy like me, yeah, none of them did it. So anyhow, that's the reason why I want to do this video. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but Fractal just keeps constantly doing updates, and then whether I had the time to do it or not. So anyhow, so I think they're done doing updates for a bit. That's isn't that a bad thing to say? But it is crazy. Okay, I bought my XFX. I have an XFX 3, and what you're seeing here on the screen is this is X Edit 3. This is the PC editor for it. I mean, you can do, I guess, pretty much everything on the unit itself if you want, but if you hear that noise there, it's my little heater fan. It'll go off every now and then. Hopefully you don't hear it, but anyhow. But anyhow, you can do anything you want on the unit itself. It's when people talk about being complicated and all that kind of stuff, yeah, if you did it on there, it would be. Of course, I'm an older guy, so I come from the 80s and had rack gear and stuff like that, so it's not too confusing for me, but some people maybe it would be. I don't know. So anyhow, let's see. So about 2.5 years ago, I got a Fractal, and before that, somebody say, "Oh, these modelers, well, they're they sound as good and better and everything." And I would say at the time, it's like, yeah, I mean, you can hear some stuff in mixes. It's like you can't really tell the difference. I mean, but the thing is, it's all more so about the experience of playing it, you being the player. And like I've got experience doing recordings and using like amp sims, and come out sounding good. It just, when you're trying to play, it's like there's latency and stuff, and it has this weird disconnected feeling. So anyhow, I dipped my foot in the Kemper camp there for a while, and that was basically, it's not a modeler. It does like a snapshot, like a picture, if you will, of a amp sound, and it did that pretty good, when it worked right. I was very inconsistent, but unless you did an actual amp and cab with a microphone, then it usually did it okay. But if you tried to just capture the amp by itself, it was like all over the place. So anyhow, I had one of those for a little while, and it was great for that, can't be loud stuff. Like here in this room here is just a small tiny room in my basement, and so I can get loud if I want to, but I really can't, at different times of the day if the wife's home or something like that and I'm going to bother or whatever. So, but the Kemper works good for that, and I just run it through, like, I have studio monitors here, like they're JBLs, 8 inchers, 8-inch woofers, but and they sound pretty good in this little room. It gives enough bass, and so I can hear everything pretty good. So anyhow, so Kemper thing did it, then it was like, I seen there was the Quad Cortex came out, and I was like, okay, I'll jump on that, and I got on the waiting list. And I liked the idea of that one too, because I had modeling and the capture thing, plus it would capture like pedals. I thought that'd be kind of cool. So I got on the waiting list, kept waiting, and they kept putting it back. Finally, it was like, man, they do it one more time, I'm done. They did it one more time. I stayed in there, and then it was like, one more time. Like, okay, that's it, I'm done. So I said, screw it, canceled the order. And then I think I had something for sale at that time, and just recently sold like some gears and some older amps or guitars or something. And I ended up selling something that actually got pretty good money. I was kind of surprised. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go try out one of the Axe FXs. And I was researching them, and it looked like, a lot of times if they're out of stock, you could almost get what you paid for it or even more sometimes. So I was like, well, probably won't lose that much money if I don't like it. So went ahead and ordered it, plugged it in, played it, sold the Kemper the very next day. I mean, it was like night and day difference. So to me, this is, I'm going to tell you right now, is probably one of the most expensive things I've ever bought, but without a doubt, the best thing I've ever bought in gear ever. Period. Tube amp guy here. Remember this. Marshall tube amp guy. Ever. Period. Now, do you get the same satisfaction playing through the Axe FX through studio monitors or headphones or something like that as you do with the real amp? The real amp in the room? No. But if I'm recording that real amp in the room, or I'm running or live and I'm putting the microphone in it and running it through a PA system, once you get to that, well, then the Axe FX is a lot better. So I can get, like I had a Marshall SV20, the little mini Plexi heads, and I had it in here, a little 20 watt, and even a 5 watt in the house here. Like if the old lady was trying to sleep, it was like, no way am I playing that, way too loud. So, but I can use the Axe FX, and matter of fact, it even has a SV20 model in it. Sounds identical to it, absolutely identical, but better because I can turn it down. And won't bother the neighbors, won't bother the wife, so it works. It's great. So anyhow, probably I was on there. I've been on here already. Probably how many minutes? 8. Yeah, I talk a lot. So let's see here. Okay, so let's get to it. The old Gibson Les Paul Traditional here. It's basically a standard. It has the burst breaker 1 and 2. Pickups, I'm probably just going to play on the bridge. Okay, so if you look at the screen there, what you're going to see is that what you just heard was me playing through the model. This is the name of the preset right here in yellow. Underneath it is the scene I'm on. Scene is kind of like, you might see me look over here occasionally because I can't see it on the editor, but hold on, I was hitting the wrong thing. Anyhow, okay, here. I should have made this, put my other monitor on so I could do this and know exactly what I'm doing. Anyhow, so right here in the yellow, this is the preset I'm on, and underneath here is the name of the scene. On the unit itself, you'll actually see this little kind of area here. It says scenes 1 through 8. I can look down there, it's actually in color and everything. Looks a lot nicer than that. But anyhow, so if you see me look over there, that's probably what I'm doing. But that's what that is. Also down here, you'll see it. This is the I got the highlighted the amp block here. If I highlight something else, change this. But yeah, so this is the amp block. And then each amp block actually has 4 channels, so that basically means you could have 4 different amps, or if you will, the same amp with 4 different settings. And in the Axe FX 3, you can actually have 2 amp blocks, so that means you have like 8, which would be cool. But and you can do that. Anyhow, so this here is the actual name and the Fractal name of the amp. So. Cabinet wise here, everything over here is going to go through the exact same. It's impulse response. It's from York Audio. It's called the YAMRSH Marshall 412 M25, maybe Greenback 25, and it's the single microphones. The Sennheiser 421. He has two versions of that. One's like an old one, vintage, and another one's a modern. This is the vintage one. And he has multiple positions. This is position 1. So anyhow, this is my favorite IR that I found. It to me sounds like that cab way back there, if you can see it. It's a Marshall 1960 AX. That's what this sounds like to me. So that'll be the cab. I do have just a very, very tiny bit of plate reverb on here for about a second long. Hear that? Bypass up there, you can hear it without it. Dryer. Back with it on. Okay, so here's amp. And every one of these presets, I'm going to show you. First of all, what I'm going to run through is I'm going to run through all the, I just say the early Marshalls up to the 800, and so basically all your Plexis, J1045 Plexis. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, I'm looking down here. I have a foot controller for my XFX. That's how I'll be switching channels and stuff. So there's 10 of them on here. Possibly could be 11 because there's one of them I'm not real sure. It'll be the first one here I'm playing with. It says this is to my best of knowledge. If I mess this up, somebody from one of the Fractal guys might tell me. But and so I named it right here the preset what amp it's supposed to be, because sometimes it just says here like Plexi 50 watt. But if you look in, there's a wiki page for Fractal, and this is a 67 Plexi. Okay, and if I go down, oops, not that scenes. There's another one here. Scene 3, it's called the Plexi 50 watt High 2, and that one he basically said was it has some kind of 70 spec on it, so it must have been maybe it's a 67 also, but somebody changed some of the specs on it. I don't know, but anyhow, so that might be a different amp. It does sound different, so it might be an actual different amp that he modeled. Okay, we'll go back to scene 1. There we go. Okay. So when I'm playing here, all I'm doing is everything is jumped. So some of these amps have the the 2 channels in the Plexi. Your 4-holer, it's going to have the 2, and they're always going to be in the high input, or if it's jumped, however that works, right? But and some of them will only be just like the high treble channel. The XFX doesn't have the low and high inputs for each channel, but you can simulate that with this input trim down here. I'm not going to do that. I'm just leaving it as normal. And so everything's going to be set. Just everything's at noon. And I'm only turning up the gain up to 2. So it's like right about, what, 9 o'clock, a little bit more. So not a whole lot of gain. And the reason for that is you can kind of hear the difference better, I think. But here it is. This is your 67 Plexi. It's a 50 watter. Jump, just as you can see. Here's your 2 volume controls: bass, mid, treble, presence. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to change on my foot switch, so pay attention. When you see a change up here, you'll hear the change before you see it, because it's a little bit of a delay on that. It's not on the Fractal itself seamlessly, but on the editor it delays a second or so. So anyhow, so you'll hear the change before you actually see it, but if you pay attention, just look right here, and this is what model you're going to see. I guess I could talk to them maybe real quick. The next one I'll switch to is a 69 Plexi, and this is a 100 watt version, and this is of course the jumped, running a jump. And again, like I said, everything's gonna be the same right here, just that gain. So everything is at 5 or noon. Next one up would be a 70 Plexi. Again, jumped, everything the same. And I can't remember if that one's. It doesn't say if there's some reason some of them I don't know. I don't know if that's. Oh yeah, here it is. It's 100 watt. So I didn't put that on there. But so this would be a 100 watt 70 model. And this is a 1972 50 watt model with 65 50s. And this one I'm not sure on the wiki page. Some of the stuff isn't real clear. This is another Plexi 50 watt, and it's using the 6 CA7s. I don't think it's the same model or the same amp, and I think if I remember right, one of them said something about this one had some kind of a different screen grid resistors in it or something. So I'm pretty sure this is actually a different model, but it has those tubes in it. You can virtually change the tubes and stuff. We'll get to that later. And then you have and this one here, this is kind of a stranger model too. This is a 81 JMP 2204, but it's basically the Plexi version. So it's a 4-holer, and it has the or wait a minute, does it have the 4-holer? Maybe it's not the 4-holer. It's basically the JCM 800 2203s and 4s. This has the vertical inputs, but it has the non-cascaded gain stages. So that's what that is. So it's like totally kind of a strange amp, to be honest. But anyhow, it is what it is. And then lastly, we got here the more modern SV20 head. So all right, and I forgot. There's also a JTM 45 and 1987X. I'm going to try those first. So those sound very similar. You hear it right here. Just again, pay attention right here. This yellow lettering when you see it. That's when it's changing. Quite a bit different there. I'm going to try to play everything the same, but if you know anything about feel, I'm probably going to mess up here and there, because when you switch to one sound to the other, it just feels weird. So, but maybe that's better. You can really tell there's a difference. I don't know. Okay, so we'll go from like the oldest to the newer, I guess, somewhat. Okay, so you should about really hear the difference there. Some sound more similar, some quite a bit different. I guess I did forget on that one. It was this one here, the 81. It's called the Plexi 2204. It's the 81 JMP, non-cascaded vertical inputs. This does have a master volume. I did have it cranked all the way up, so I'm making this, because it's technically, since the gain isn't cascaded, it's more like a Plexi, I guess, than a JCM 800. So that's why I put it on this. And by the way, if you get the Fractal, it has 800s. Probably, I don't know if there's as many as this. Maybe there is. Maybe there's this much more. There's even more Plexi versions. There are, I think, some hot rodded ones. Maybe that I didn't put on here. I think. I could be wrong on that one. This could be all of them. Anyhow, I think it's like quite a bit different. That's, maybe I'll run through here again, just the same kind of way. I'll start with the JTM 45, just kind of a little chunky here. Again, look at the yellow right there. See it when it's switching. Again, very, very different. I think like the last one here on the SV20, I think that one sounds probably more like the 69 or the 59. I guess I didn't say that one right there, that 1959, that's the Super Lead reissue. SV20H. And just for, I mean, I'm going to go show you anyhow, because I didn't technically weren't ready to do this video yet, but I did get a couple of them on here. Just to show you, here's a JSM 800 2204 vertical inputs, and the gain only like on 1, and the master volume cranked. And the next one here is the same thing, except it's 2203. Where's the 100 watt version? So let's hear this one. We'll go 50 watt, then 100 watt. So the 04 is the 150 watt. So. So anyhow, so all you tube amp guys out there, you know, that die-hard tube amp guys like me, you should hear those, like when you're, especially like in that 202 or 2204 and 2203 50 watt, 100 watt, you know, more beef on a 100 watt. Not always the case, but anyhow, so that's just a very long way to 23 more minutes in. Show you just the difference in the sounds. Okay, but you know, there's a gazillion more tones involved with that. I'll just go like, here's the, I'm gonna kick on this is a drive pedal here. It's a clone. I got the gain like really low, treble knob set right in the middle, the level about 11 o'clock, and I'll play a little bit and kick that on so you can hear what it sounds like with this low gain Plexi. Pedal back off. Oh, by the way, how's it clean up and all that kind of stuff? I guess I didn't do that. There, showing you how it cleans up your volume knob dynamics. course, you guys are all wondering, like, hey, wait a minute, would you move them knobs? Like, yeah, we can do that too. Sorry about that. Okay, that's so like I said, it's about a little bit above 9 o'clock. Let's crank her up. Oh, not all wet. Let's go about half. So, go all the way up. And some guys like, oh yeah, turn them all up. I don't know. Maybe it gets too muddy. I like them down lower. Then I had a boost pedal in front. So what else can we do? Okay, let's put that back where I had it. Okay, now let's go have some fun. Okay, let's see, number 4. Oh, by the way, here real quickly, here's that. If you had two drives on it. There's the first drive pedal. There is a FET boost. I think it's like an exotic EP booster or something. I could be wrong on that one. I said that wrong. That's the clon right there. I'll just do it right here. Clon off. Clon on. I'm going to follow it with a FET boost. But I forgot to see what was going on here. So I'm going to switch back and forth. If you notice, this is called jump with drives. That's why I had those 2 drives, but also hot bias. So let's go let you see this is the amp block. And hang on, I'm going to put that the same here. Forgot to do that. Okay, so I'm going to switch back and forth between this scene 1 and scene 4. So it's going to say on scene 1 is the what's called, I call it stock. So it's stock and it's jump, and the gain's only on 2. Everything else flat. When I jump over here to scene 4, it's going to be exactly the same except for the bias is hotter. Yeah, 'cause we can go down here and there are power tubes. So what you got here, this page here just shows you it's called tone page, and you got all these other pages. This is your just usually what they used to be called authentic. I think I should have left it like that, but anyhow, this is what usually the controls you're going to see on the actual amp itself. You go down here to power tubes page, you can adjust the bias. So I can leave it on this page and then switch back for the scenes. And if you look over here, it's changing the amp. So channel A over to channel D, same amp. Only thing is it's different. Okay, and that difference is only this right here. If you look right here, I'm going to switch it back. Look right there, it's going to change from 75 to 60. So the stock amp is 60. It sounds like this. guys like, you know, again, like me, you know, over the years you bias your amp, you know, and the 60 I think is a little bit cold, but I think the owner designer Cliff from Fractal says, I think he usually sets the bias. He says about what the factory says, which they always do colder, so they don't, you know, wear your tubes out too quick. But the cool thing about the Fractal is, you know, you can bias, and to me, that sounds exactly what the row amp does when you do it. It's kind of hard to hear sometimes unless you record it, but here you can like A/B it that quick. Boom, boom. I could, if I really wanted to, I could put that on the foot switch and be playing and hit it on the foot switch and hear it. But that's obvious, you know, that's hear that? Biased, hot. It is a volume jump, you know. That's, I guess, one thing. Somebody say, well, it's just a volume. To me, it's not. It's a tone thing, too. You can hear it. It's got more grind, if you will. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So we can do that. What else can we do? Oh, let's see here. So now I got it biased. I could do the, what was it? I think I've heard, I could be wrong on this, but I've heard like Angus and Malcolm Young would sit there on their Marshalls and have them bias like really hot, so like 85-90%. Let's do it at 90%, see what it does. And guess what? Because it's a Fractal, it won't blow up. Your tubes don't blow. I don't want to play it because I know their YouTube will make me do stop the video. That compared to the original version. Yeah, it's quieter, but I mean, there's a volume difference, I know that, but it's like way more grind. Okay, let's turn that down to like 70% or 75 because we'll blow our tubes, alright? I got that right? Oh, I did it wrong. 75. Ah, crap. 75. Okay, so you're probably like, oh, what's all that stuff? And here's where the people will say the Axe-Fx is a tweaking nightmare. I mean, it's not. If you just want to use the amp the way it is stock, you have this right here, and how is that any harder than using a regular amp? It's not. But the cool thing is like, you know, if you're a tube amp guy, you're like, hey, man, I'm going to adjust the bias, you know, of course, you know, that's going to be different on every amp. I can do that. But I can also do stuff like, oh, wait a minute. Let me just go through these pages real quick, I guess. This is called Ideal. What this does, if you look at it, contains all the original knobs. So these knobs here, you see, won't change. It adds other ones and switches and stuff. So like if, you know, this is like, if it was that amp, but has a bunch of mods available that you can just, you know, move the knob, flip the switch. So you can do that. That's pretty cool if you want to go that route. Okay, and then here under the preamp page, some of this stuff is like under kind of several pages at once and things like that. So it's kind of, that can get kind of confusing for some guys until you kind of understand that. Some reason, I think some of the things Cliff had to do because it just fit it on the screen. But so anyhow, here you can adjust like on the Ideal page, I had a boost here. It's input boost. It's basically like a drive pedal, and it's like, and he has some of the drive pedals in there. Where did I just select that? Oh, right here. Yeah, you can, all these different drive pedals. I don't think it's every single one, but like some of the bigger ones there, and that's just basically like the gain stage of it, without any of the EQ, or EQ is all flat if it had an EQ. And then so you might go, well, what's that for? That's for so if you really, you know, you had to want to hit this with a tube screamer or something like that, then your CPU usage over here is getting too high. You can do that, and it's basically built into the amp, so it's kind of cool. So low cut, high cut stuff. Some of this stuff down here I don't really know. You know, I've messed with it a little bit. It's like kind of the really fine details. There's one that's pretty cool. Tone stack. You can select from all. Oh crap! Where did I put that at? On default. There's like a whole bunch of tone stacks from all the different amps that are on the XFX. I don't know if it uses every single one, but there's 135 of them you can choose from, so you could change the tone stack on your existing amp model you're using. Here you can change the frequency. You can put it like post gain stage, pre gain stage, and different positions. I'm not sure what the middle and post and end is, or pre-mid. I don't know. But it changes where that's at in that circuitry, I guess. That's kind of cool. So it's like you can, you have you can be your own amp modder without paying anybody and check out different tones. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'll move over to, I guess I didn't say another biggie right here. Preamp tube type. I don't know if this does the actual, just like every preamp tube in the model or just the first one. This EC83, I know for sure is a Mullard. It's a Mullard tube. Let's go to a JJ. And you can go and figure out different ones you want to try out. I don't know about you, but I hear a difference. You know, I mean, maybe through YouTube you can't. It's more under the fill part. You know. So let's go to power amp. Let's see. On here you can do things like this is a pretty cool one. And actually, just under the last update, he added this knob or button right here. NFB, negative feedback compensation, which is cool because before it didn't have that. And what that does, you can adjust the negative feedback. So we're on 5.30, right? Let's hear the difference there. Anyhow, I just noticed something. It's the first time I actually tried that switch there. I think it switched to me, more works backwards, but anyhow, because when you have it off, it'll because on a real amp, as it does, if you adjust that negative feedback on a real amp, it's going to one way, I guess. Well, how's it go? Let's see. Turned it up, the amp's actually going to get louder. So this compensation doesn't change. So what was that? 5.3. Keep it normal. Anyhow, so how many of you guys out there playing your amps would like to have that knob on there? Yeah, works pretty cool. Let's see what else we got here. Some of the stuff I'm going to go over because I don't go over because I don't really know so much. Phase inverter, master volume location. Obviously, we're on a Plexi here, right? No master volume, but you can here. So when they put on the ideal page, of course, it's all the way up. So you can simulate that if you have you wanted to mod your amp and put that in there. Right, so and then you can also change whether it's post phase inverter, pre or pre triode, and you can also change this master volume cap and all this other stuff, which I'm not going to go over. There's wiki pages on the Fractal stuff, and you can go in and you can read about every single knob, what it does, like in a manual, or, if you will. And then there's guys that went through, and anytime the owner made extra comments about that certain knob or whatever, that parameter, he would, they would write that in there. So it's very helpful. And then you can go in there, and it's like you can understand pretty much what everything does. Some of the stuff's just really subtle. It's probably going to be more of a feel thing that you probably not want to notice, but some of it, pretty drastic. So anyhow, so let's go to power tubes now. Power tubes and plus cathode filler. You can change your power tubes. All right, this is where you can bias it. Let's see what that does. Switch it to Svetlana. That again, it's more of a feel thing. I don't know if that's coming out through on YouTube, but I can hear the difference there. And how I hear it is, and this is pretty cool because over the, like the last, 15, 20 years, whenever I've had real amps and I switch tubes in them, I usually have sets of Muller and Svetlana and JJ's around, and that's usually what I would, whatever amp I had, if I tried to figure out which tube sounded the best in that amp, that's what I would use. So that works out pretty cool. Suppose here you can put in all kinds of other tubes, different tube families, like 6L6s, 6V6s, etc., and all that stuff. But I don't never mess with that because I don't see how that can be that accurate, because when you're changing that, I don't know. So, but anyhow, you can do that if you want. It does change the tone a little bit. So I usually try to keep it, if it's an EL34 amp, I'll switch between some of the brands, but not one of the different tube families. So there's different stuff here you can do. Obviously the grid or the bias that we talked about, you can mismatch them if for some reason that's what you wanted to do, and some other more complicated stuff there. If you have tremolo on the amp, you can adjust that there. And the cathode filler, compression, harmonics, that can do quite a bit to a sound too. Power supply, I don't know, I'm going to change that. I guess you can simulate if you have a variac. Now this is weird, you're probably looking at going, we'll talk about that one last. Input EQ, this can drastically change the sound of an amp. I mean, drastically change it. It's crazy what you can do with this. Okay, you can low cut, high cut, and then in a mid frequency you can put a boost, and you can adjust the Q and stuff. And I mean so much change. Like you're talking about modding an amp, man, you can really do it. Maybe it's kind of like using an EQ pedal in front. I don't know, but anyhow, it works on some stuff pretty good. Output EQ, you can add this. This is like on the amp itself, but you can decide where it's at, or on the input, or the pre-phase inverter. So you can add it in different areas there. That's kind of cool. And there's a bunch of different EQs right there. You got even 3 bands, to 5 band, like your Mark series. That's like the Mesa Boogie 5 band EQ. And then it has a JMP1 pre. That's the JMP1. I think it's 4 band EQ. Because that's actually doesn't have a real tone stack in it. But anyhow, and there's something like dynamics, like compression and compressor type stuff you can add to actually this amp block. So that's pretty cool, except for the last one, speaker. Like what? What the hell's a speaker in the amp block? Okay, so this is one of the most important ones, and a lot of guys, I think when you hear people doing like test A, B, and stuff like that, it's never really exactly accurate. And this way, it's like somebody shows me like, oh, here's something here's the quad cortex and blah 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 line 6 compared to the fractal, and they sound like this much. It was like, yeah, well, on that quad cortex and that line 6 compared to the Fractal, you can't really do hardly anything with it except for your normal bass, mid, and treble presence and gain, and like some of them might have a sag button or something like that, but that's about it. You already experienced, like I showed you can do a lot of things with the Fractal. Okay, this is one of the bigger ones. And what happens when you, on a real amp, when your speaker out, the output of your or output transformer going into your speakers, there is an interaction between the amp and the speaker, and also the cabinet. Okay, it's because it has a resonant frequency, and they interact with each other. So, like when somebody uses like a low box or something like that, it's not going to sound the same as it is when it's actually hooked to a real speaker cab. So Cliff from Fractal did this, and you don't get everything. I wish this would be somehow you could make your own or even save one, because you can adjust this and stuff, but it has settings here. Like everything you've heard right now is this is it's called a speaker impedance curve. I'm using one just called a 4x12 Brit greenback, and it has anywhere from 1x8s to 110, 1x10s, 1x12s, 15, 210s, 2x12s, 4x10s, 4x12s, anyhow, and even low boxes if you want, and resistive loads. So it's like, just for instance, we'll show you the resistive load. Okay, how would this model sound like if that's what it was doing? I'll switch it back to where it was at. We got greenback. And ideally, you want to match this with whatever you're using. Like I'm using like I said, on the cab, I'm using it's a Marshall greenback for M25 speakers, 4x12. So, but there's a number of ones I can probably pick from, and they do sound different. Like that one right there, I'm not sure. I can pick the Brit AX one, a little bit different. But I guess when it all comes down to it, pick whatever you think sounds the best. But I try to stay true with it. And I think the one that's in green, but it says just greenback, I think it's probably more like probably a B cab. But I could be wrong on that. But pick whichever sounds best for you. But it's what it's doing. That's another layer of the realism that the Axifix does. So, man, I've been on for like 49 minutes. Probably should have made this a lot shorter. Yeah, but anyhow, so it's something I've been wanting to do, and for a while. And I know there's like one forum I usually go to a lot, or I used to go to a lot, the Marshall forum. And I'm probably, you guys see me saying stuff about the Axifix all the time anymore, but it's because once I got it 2.5 years ago, I'm just like, I can tell you, dudes, is like I'm that guy. I'm the tube amp guy. I know it probably isn't going to come across in the YouTube and stuff, hearing this, but if you could hear this in person, and I could go plug one of these Plexi Tones in, and so I could just run it through there, and I had another real Plexi in another room, and then we had it mic'd up, dude, it's going to sound every bit as good or the same. And I can even plug a real amp here in the room, and then run out of the Axifix and turn the speaker thing off, and then run through like a power amp, solid state power amp, into a real cab, and I guarantee you're going to be like, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. You're not. You can think you will all day long. You can watch videos all day long with the ones that show you the real against the model and stuff, but like I said, a lot of them guys, when they're doing that, I don't know if they're actually doing, when they're playing Axifix, are they using the speaker impedance curve correctly? One. Two, the other thing is when it comes to raw amps, and the guy from Fractal knows this, that every amp is different, so every little part, resistor, capacitor, all that stuff. They have tolerances, so they could be off a little bit. So you could have, well, you can have, I mean, who's played real amps, you know this. You could have several amps of the exact same model, and they sound a little bit different when you set all the controls the same. So, and that's that. So, but the bottom line is, does it feel like a real amp when you're playing it? And does it sound good? And it's like, with the Fractal, absolutely 1000%. And if you're a guy who needs to play it at low volume, whether that's at home or even on stage, okay, check out the Fractal. I'm telling you, man, it's like, save your back. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna say, you know, don't keep your real amps and stuff. They're fun to play with, man. You get in a room, just, you know, had a bad day at work, come home, crank up that 50 water and just play in front or whatever. I mean, yeah, that's fun to do. No questions about that. But I could do the same thing with the Fractal, run it through a solid state power amp and do the same thing. I have that same exact feeling. So I don't lose that feeling as long as I keep some kind of a power amp, you know, whether it be the solid state or even a tube amp as a power amp, but because you can actually disable that part too in there if you want to. And like that was under, where was that at? I think it was power amp section. Yeah, power amp right there. Power amp modeling on off right there. There's also some global settings I think you can do. So if you're just hooking it up to that, you don't have to worry about hearing the speaker cab and all that, or the speaker simulator, whatever. But anyhow, said this is something I hope that comes across, since I know the video is way too long, but I wanted to just show you guys that, look, if you're out there spending $1,500 on a small little head, another $500 on a 1x12 cabinet, a couple $100 for an attenuator, and all this stuff, and you got pedal boards, and yeah, I didn't even go through all the pedals this thing's got and all the effects. It's like absolutely nuts, insane. I mean, I'm a simple guy. I'm usually the kind of guy, just for years and years and years, I just plugged in the JMP1, no pedals, nothing, use a little bit of chorus and reverb on clean. Like I said, I didn't show you, did I? Jump around here and go off on a tangent, I guess. Here was one. I guess I should have probably showed this one. Here's this 4. I took those some same amps I showed you, and ones that sound pretty good clean. And let's see, that's that. If you look right here, it's what amp it is. That's a JTM 45. The Plexi 2204. So I think that's the master volume one. Yeah. And here's the 1987X. And then the 2203 low input. See, that's the one thing. That's one thing that's cool about those 2203 and 2204 ones. He did the low and high inputs. Actually, I really like that for clean. Anyhow, so that was that. So I was trying to show you this. Oh, here's my I'm going to show you this. Here's a JMP1. This is basically something I've used for years. Does it sound exactly like it? I mean, let's just put it this way. I've never sat there and took my real JMP1 and set it side by side here, and I could do that and A/B it. But I don't need to, because I'm so familiar with that sound. I know what this sounds like. Would it be, if I did A/B it, would be exactly, probably not 100%, but probably be about 95, or it might even be better. See, so here it is, just the stock on the overdrive 1 channel. I'm hitting the front with a little bit of drive there, clon, just barely hitting it, giving it a little bit more. So anyhow, so that's that. I want to let you hear what it sounds like when I talk about all those mods and stuff. Here's the same thing, but modding it a little bit. anyhow, so that probably wouldn't be a really super good tone for recording. I'd probably have to tweak that a little bit on the bottom end, but anyhow, the JMP1 on this model doesn't have a BBE after it because I'm one of the BBE guys. I've always used that after that preamp, so I had to tweak the crap out of that one to get it to kind of give that same feeling. So, but I think it does. So I'm completely satisfied with that. I still have a JMP1, but I could sell it tomorrow and would not care. Absolutely not care. And that's my favorite Marshall sound out of all of them. You know, but I also have the my 3 main like kind of channels I would use on the JMP1, the overdrive you just heard, and then any leads and stuff like that. I would add delay or whatever. I would just add it to that. And then here's my clean. And here's my JMP1 Overdrive 1 as like kind of a plexi type tone. By the way, yeah, this JMP1 preset is quite a bit louder than the other stuff. Sorry about that. Blew your ears out. That's what I base my rhythm tone on, pretty much. When I do it, when you chug, it does that. The only thing that only Marshalls do. Anyhow, that's enough. There you go.